Hi everyone, my name is Emma Hassencahl-Perley. I am Wolastoqey from Nugutguk or Tobique First Nation in New Brunswick. I'm in Tobique now and I have been for the past several weeks after my workplaces were shut down due to COVID-19. But when I'm not in Tobique, I live in Fredericton and I work as a curatorial intern at the Beaverbrook Art Gallery. I'm also an instructor at the New Brunswick College of Craft and Design, and I maintain my own personal art practice. And so I'm here today to share some links, websites, but mainly Instagram profiles to show you where I've been finding inspiration for both my practice and my research during this time of social distancing. And I've been gravitating towards Instagram a lot. I think it's the app that I use the most to look at art online. I follow a lot of artists and I also follow a lot of tags that are kind of centered around beading and painting. My practice is pretty well centered around beading and painting right now, but other times it has included performance, printmaking, and soft sculpture. Themes in my work include legislative identity, kind of narrowing in on how specifically the Indian Act has an impact on the identities of Indigenous peoples in Canada, and also my own identity as a Wolastoqey woman. And I see beadwork as playing a huge part in that because beadwork is essentially how beadwork is reflected in the way that we have presented ourselves or presented our nations. I'm finding it difficult to stay motivated in this time, as I'm sure a lot of people are. I have a studio set up in my childhood bedroom, which is not ideal, but I make do. And I mean, when I'm home, I'm home to hang out with my family and not necessarily home to make work. So I'm struggling with that a little bit, and I've been painting and beading as much as I, possibly can, and I'm still working, thankfully. I'm also still kind of in a transition between graduating from art school and being a professional artist. I graduated from Mount A in 2017, and I didn't exactly jump into an artistic career right off the bat. I worked for about a year, and I wasn't making much work. And so I think after about 9 months or so, I left and decided to pursue art full-time or artistic career full-time. And so I'm really grateful to be where I'm at today. Other than that, I think we can just jump right into it. I'm going to be sharing my screen with you as I take you to other artist profiles. So the first page I'm going to take you to is the BACA Instagram page. And I'm going to get rid of my screen. I'm bringing you first to the Contemporary Native Art Biennial Instagram because I've been coming back to this page for about a month just to check out the show. This show was set to open near the end of April, but everything was moved to kind of a virtual showing due to COVID-19. And my work is actually featured this year in the exhibition for the first time. And so I've been coming back to see work as it's being uploaded each day. I come to the BACA Instagram page to discover new artists and to spark my own creativity. I just love seeing what other Indigenous artists are doing across the country, and I think it will have a big influence in the way that I make work or what I've become inspired by. I'm pretty disappointed that we couldn't come together for the opening, but I'm pretty hopeful that we might get the chance before it closes. You never know though. This is the work I'm showing, and it's called Atlamia, which means she keeps praying. And it is Indian axe shreds on red jingle dress. The show is curated by Faye Mullen, Rudy Aker, and David Garneau, and the exhibition is titled Honoring Kinship. Along with discovering new artists, there are some people that I have been following, and I'm super grateful to be showing work alongside them. And these would be artists that I admire, like Ruth Cuthand and Hannah Close, Katherine Blackburn, who I'm going to talk about, and Sage Paul, just to name a few. This next artist profile belongs to the Métis Queen, Christy Belcourt. She is a huge influence in my work in terms of the way that I combine beadwork, or my approach to combining beadwork and painting. That was something that inspired me a lot in her work. I used to look at her work a lot when I was in school. And I just love the way that she uses that beadwork painting style to depict plants, animals, insects. And my favorite paintings by her are the ones that depict the plant life symmetrically. I use symmetry a lot in my work, and I would say that absolutely comes from all these years of looking at Christy Belcourt paintings online. I just love that she has such a strong presence and message in her work. And I think her work always comes back to the importance of taking care of the land and knowing our roles, responsibilities, and obligations to other life forms and creatures within that. And so she's been a huge inspiration for me. This next artist profile I'd like to share belongs to Mi'kmaq artist Jordan Bennett. I'm drawn to Jordan's paintings because they are graphic, and I also appreciate the color palettes that he typically works in. Jordan is known for translating Mi'kmaq quill work designs into painting, and I'm definitely influenced by that approach in my work, where I'm trying to translate beadwork patterns into painting. And Jordan recently dropped these 13 prints inspired by the 13 Mi'kmaq moons, which represent time, seasons, and environmental shifts throughout the year. And I was just absolutely blown away by them. He uploaded them over a span of 13 days. And so I would come back and check to see which painting that he would upload. I mean, I always admire, and I think I'm influenced by his work mainly because I have admired the way that Jordan is able to calculate his designs while keeping them balanced and organic. I think there's a pretty clear connection between Jordan Bennett's work and mine. I think that he's been a pretty clear influence in the way that I'm painting now, which is more graphic and abstracted. And so I admire his work very much. And I often gravitate towards a graphic or abstracted style. And so the next artist that I want to share with you is Quill Christy Peters. For what I see online, she is primarily a painter, but she also does beadwork and tattooing. And I think my work is influenced by her somewhat in terms of color palette, but also in the graphic quality, like the stark contrasts and thick outlines. But I also look to her work for its powerful messaging. And I admire the way that Quill is able to successfully translate these messages so clearly in her imagery. I'm just always in awe by what she makes. I love her style. Her work is just the coolest, and I'm sure she is too. I think that Geoffrey Gibson is just one of those artists that make you pick your jaw up off the floor. I just want to know everything and anything about his process. And Geoffrey Gibson is an artist that I kind of recently stumbled upon just online on Instagram. Much of Geoffrey Gibson's work combines painting and beadwork, which again is something that I'm interested in, have tried before in my own practice, but for now I'm still evaluating how to marry those things seamlessly like he does. Geoffrey also uses a lot of text. He is very well versed in color theory, something that I'm also exploring in my work. It was honestly something that I was never really, I guess, good at. And his work very much sparks my creativity. And I mean, some of the things that he's making or that he has made, such as his punching bags, which I find one, here's one. Like some of these things I just have no words for, but it would be my dream to make larger beaded installation-based pieces like Geoffrey Gibson is making. And so I am inspired by him a lot. Next up is Chippewa and Potawatomi artist Chief Ladybird, who I had the absolute honor of meeting on set for Jeremy Dutcher's music video last summer. She's another artist that works in a really beautiful graphic style, and her work is centered around representation, clan systems, positive body image, empowerment, and love. I'm sure it's more than that, but that's just what I take away from her work. She has influenced the way that I embellish paintings, as she often does with plant life. It kind of I guess she kind of sparked my interest too in like including more plant life into my work. Um, I've been following her for a while. I actually found her on Tumblr when that was a thing I did, and I have so admired her genuine ability to share so openly with her following. And I think she has inspired me to pour everything into my work because she's in her power and it shows. When I say that Katherine Blackburn makes the most beautiful beaded things, I mean it with everything in my body. So Katherine is a jeweler and she's also a visual artist. I've been following her practice for a little bit now. In terms of her beadwork, I love her style. I love that she is adamant on delivering beaded jewelry of the highest quality. She incorporates vintage beads, real gold beads, like the finest metal fixtures, to create these masterpieces. And I mean, beaded jewelry is art, and she just takes it to another level. especially with things like this. Her custom pieces absolutely blow me away each time. But she makes me think about the quality of my own beadwork, and it really just makes me consider how long I want these things to last. And so she influences my work in that way. And then in terms of her visual art practice, her work, from what I can tell at this point, seems to revolve around language and identity a lot, or at least it comes back to those things. And not being able to speak your first language is something that I empathize with, being in the same boat as her. And I think that language work in our art practices is so important, and her work just reminds me to incorporate my language more. Next up is Cree, Métis, and European artist Carrie Allison. Carrie is another very talented beadwork artist. I love watching her posts come through my screen. I've been watching her first family series closely. This is the last one of that series, and these are beaded medicinal plants inside the circle, which is a very time-consuming style to achieve, but she does it so gracefully in each one. Her work influences mine in that it reminds me to, I guess, be more clever and conceptual with my beadwork, and to kind of push the boundaries a bit and think outside of the box, because I think Carrie's work is so fresh and innovative, and that's really inspiring to see. And it just holds these beautiful messages of space, place, and memory. There are a lot of people that I could probably be referencing in this video, but these were just a few artists that I find myself going back to often to check up on their work and to see what they're doing. But finally, something that directly influences my work and has influenced my work since I was in school is searching images of Wabanaki beadwork on Google Images. Wabanaki means people of the dawn, and my nation, or the Wolastoqey, as well as several nations in the East, are included within that term. Sometimes I'll search Malseet beadwork or Wolastoqey beadwork, sometimes Mi'kmaq beadwork, because a lot of these designs were shared among local nations. Sometimes I look on other places, but I find the most mix of images of beadwork exist here. And so a lot of these influence my work directly. And I also received some advice. I received some advice earlier this year from another Wolastoqey artist, Percy Sakobi, about approaching traditional designs and patterns. And he said that it's really important that we play with them and make them different and make them their own, because they should always be evolving with us. But I really do enjoy going back and looking at these older styles. I'll go back. And that's important so that they don't stay static, which I totally agree with. And I try to build them in a style that is my own. I'm just going to go onto my profile here. I try to work them into a style that is my own. But at the same time, I am clearly influenced by our older designs. But before I finish this video, I want to say Waliwin, thank you so much to the Art Gallery of Louise et Robin Cohen for inviting me to talk about the influences in my current work during this time of social distancing. Please follow me on Instagram. I upload all of my work here for the time being. And I just want to say bye, everyone, and thank you so much for watching.